We live in a world where everyone is trying to prove something. They try to prove they're right. They try to prove they're worthy. They explain, over-explain, and sometimes even beg just to be seen. But a Stoic moves differently. A Stoic does not chase attention. A Stoic does not beg for recognition. And above all, a Stoic does not explain themselves to people who never intended to understand. Because Stoics know one simple truth: silence is power. When most people get hurt, rejected, or misunderstood, they react instantly. They text endlessly. They call repeatedly. They try to patch a broken situation with long messages and desperate explanations, hoping someone will finally see their value. But that is not strength. That is weakness dressed as courage. A Stoic understands the more you chase, the less you're valued. The more you explain, the more power you lose. The more you cling, the further you drift from yourself. Epictetus said it clearly: the more you value things outside your control, the less control you have. When you try to be understood by someone who refuses to understand, when you try to prove your worth to someone who cannot see it, you hand over your peace to another person. That is not peace, that is a prison. And this is why we must talk about silence. Not the silence of being hurt, not the silence used to manipulate, but Stoic silence, a silence that comes from dignity, from inner strength, from the clarity that you no longer need to chase or prove anything. Today, we will walk through 8 deep truths about the power of silence, truths that will make sure you never have to chase, beg, or explain yourself ever again. Get ready, because just one of these truths can change the way you stand before the world. Truth number 1, silence reveals them, not your words. There is a truth most people never realize when you go silent. It is that very silence, not your arguments, not your explanations, that exposes who people truly are. It sounds gentle, but in reality, it's one of the heaviest psychological blows you can deliver. Think back to a moment when you stepped back from someone who hurt you. You didn't yell. You didn't demand clarity. You didn't pour your heart out in long messages. You simply stayed silent. And what happened? The ones who respect you will feel the space and move toward you. The ones who used you will disappear because there's nothing left to take. The ones who tried to manipulate you will panic, get angry, or start creating stories in their head because they no longer control your reactions. Silence is not passive. Silence is observation. Stoics understood this better than anyone. They never judge people by apologies, promises, or sweet words. They only watch patterns, the behavior that repeats itself. And to see a pattern clearly, you must stop talking. You must step back far enough to observe from a distance. Ralph Waldo Emerson said it best: what you do speaks so loudly that I cannot hear what you say. When you go quiet, you create a space large enough for someone to reveal themselves. No pressure, no confrontation, no interrogation, just silence, and the truth floats to the surface. You will see who reaches out, who disappears, who gets angry because they lost their influence over you, who misses you because they genuinely value you, and who remains completely unmoved because they never saw you as a priority in the first place. Does it hurt? Yes. Is it necessary? Absolutely. Because sometimes your silence is the most honest test of someone's character. And once the truth reveals itself, you no longer need anyone's explanation. Truth number 2, not explaining yourself is the highest form of confidence. There is a kind of power that makes people irritated, intrigued, and respectful all at once, the quiet confidence of someone who no longer feels the need to explain themselves to anyone. We've all felt the sting of being misunderstood, labeled incorrectly, looked down on, twisted, or blamed for something we never meant. And naturally, you want to defend yourself. That's not what I meant. You misunderstood me. I didn't do that. But the Stoics knew a brutal truth. Explaining yourself to someone who has no intention of understanding you, you are lowering your own value. Marcus Aurelius said, "Do not waste the rest of your life worrying about what others think." Why? Because what you're trying to protect isn't the truth, it's the image of you inside their mind. And that image is completely outside your control. A peaceful person doesn't need to convince anyone of their character. They don't need speeches. They don't need to present a moral resume. They don't need to justify that they are living right. They know who they are, and that is enough. It's not arrogance. It's a deeper form of confidence, the kind that whispers, "I don't need you to understand me for me to be myself." And the moment you stop explaining, you start noticing a few painful but liberating truths. The person who wants to understand you will understand you without you begging. The person locked in their own bias will never get it, no matter how long you explain. The person who envies you will twist anything you say. The person who values you understands you simply by watching your actions. Not explaining yourself is a boundary, a very elegant one. I will not let your perception dictate my emotional state. People may gossip, speculate, assume, distort. That is their business. Your business is to continue living aligned with your values, quietly, consistently, firmly. Because a self-confident person knows this. The truth doesn't need your words. Your daily actions are proof enough. Truth number 3, silence creates the space where others finally feel your absence. There's a fascinating paradox in human psychology. When you talk a lot, people listen less. But when you go silent, people suddenly start thinking. Think back to the last time you were hurt, ghosted, or treated coldly. In that moment, your instincts probably screamed, I should say something. I need to clear this up. They have to know how much this hurts. But the more you talked, the smaller you felt. The more you explained, the more invisible you became, as if you were chasing a door that someone had just slammed shut. That's exactly what the Stoics understood thousands of years ago. Your presence is never as powerful as your absence at the right moment. When you suddenly go quiet, no messages, no explanations, no one last attempt, a strange thing happens inside the other person's mind. Why aren't they saying anything? Are they really silent this time? Did I push too far? Do they not care anymore? What did I do? This is the moment the power shifts. Your silence becomes an invisible mirror. It doesn't attack, it doesn't accuse, it doesn't blame, but it forces them to face their own behavior. And that discomfort triggers questions they cannot escape. Why aren't you reacting? Why aren't you angry? Why aren't you trying to fix this? They assumed you would chase. They expected you to beg. They thought you would explain yourself. But you don't do any of that. You stay silent, and that silence unsettles them more than anything you could have said. The Stoics called this the paradoxical power of absence. When you withdraw your energy from someone, they are forced to confront the truth that they had taken you for granted. And in that moment, you no longer need to prove anything. Your absence says everything for you. Truth number 4. Silence is the moment you hear your inner voice. The loudest people fear silence. Not because silence is frightening, but because in silence, the truth inside us becomes impossible to ignore. When we're hurt, betrayed, abandoned, or misunderstood, our first instinct is to run toward noise. Seeking advice from friends, seeking sympathy from social media, seeking anyone to hear our story, or worse, seeking the very person who hurt us, hoping they'll give us an explanation. But the Stoics are different. They don't run to the crowd. They don't seek distraction. They don't beg to be understood. They retreat inward into a quiet place no one else can enter. Because they know noise numbs you, silence reveals you. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "If what hurts you comes from the outside, it is you who allowed it to harm you. And you can take that power back anytime in silence." When you truly become still, the inner truth rises. They didn't stop loving me, they simply weren't mature enough. I stayed too long out of fear of losing, not because love remained. I kept explaining not to help them understand, but to avoid facing my own wound. I don't need closure. I need peace. None of these truths arrive while you're talking. They appear only when you stop talking. The Stoics called this the cleansing of the mind, a pause, a deep breath, a quiet space where emotion separates from identity, where reaction melts away and clarity surfaces. In silence, you begin to hear everything: the hurt, the disappointment, the hope you didn't want to admit, and that small, quiet voice that says, it's time to let go. The world teaches you speak up, express yourself, say everything. But Stoicism teaches the opposite. When the mind is chaotic, don't speak, listen. Because in silence, you don't find other people. You find yourself. Truth number 5. Begging for closure is a form of self-betrayal. There is a moment more painful than someone leaving you. It's the moment you lower yourself to ask for an explanation from the very person who chose to hurt you. We've all fallen into this trap. We want an answer, an apology, an acknowledgement, a clean ending that makes the pain easier to swallow. But the harsh truth is this: if they truly respected you, you wouldn't have to ask for closure. And if you have to ask, you will never receive real closure. Because closure never comes from their mouth. It comes from your acceptance found only in silence. Epictetus said, "Don't explain your philosophy, embody it." And nothing fits this moment better. You don't need them to confirm you're right, worthy, or good. You need to live your values and walk away in silence. Because when you chase closure, what you're really saying is, my emotions depend on your words. You place your healing in the hands of the very person responsible for your wound. That is self-betrayal. Here's how the painful cycle usually goes. They hurt you, you demand answers. They avoid, deflect blame, or go cold. You feel worse. You try to explain yourself again. The pain deepens until you finally see the truth. Someone unwilling to have a real conversation is someone who was never ready to love you properly. When you choose silence, no more texts, no more questions, no more trying to make them understand, you give yourself the closure you'd been begging from them all along. You begin telling yourself, I acknowledge I was hurt. I accept the answer will never come. I don't need them to end this. I end it myself. That is the moment your power returns, not because you win, but because you stop wounding yourself by chasing an ending that doesn't exist. Stoicism teaches this. A chapter ends when you stop reading it, not when someone else closes it for you. Truth number 6. Silence is the moment you detach and rescue yourself. There is a kind of departure that shocks people more than any breakup text ever could. Not anger, not blame, not a long emotional message poured out at midnight, but leaving in silence, quiet as the closing of a door, yet powerful enough to change the entire atmosphere of a room. Stoics understood this perfectly. Not every battle requires words. Some battles are won simply by walking away. When you become silent and step out of a toxic relationship, an unhealthy conversation, or away from someone who constantly dismisses your feelings, you're delivering an incredibly strong message. I choose peace over connection. Seneca said, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." And your silence forces the other person to confront that imagination. They begin to hear the echo of your absence, something they never noticed before. They start remembering the moments when you were kind, when you listened, when you gave, and realize they took it all for granted. They suddenly understand you're no longer standing there carrying the emotional weight for both of you. What unsettles them isn't that you left. What terrifies them is that you left without making an announcement. No drama, no pleading, no "here's why I'm done." You simply disappear from a place that was never worthy of you. For manipulators, your silence is a fatal blow. They can't argue back. There's nothing to grab onto. They can't trigger you. You've withdrawn every drop of energy from their emotional game. For you, silence is a homecoming, a return to yourself, a return to your values, a return to the truth that you don't have to keep harming yourself just to keep someone else close. Stoicism calls this detachment with dignity. Not because you don't care, but because you care too deeply about your soul to stay somewhere that drains it. You don't scream, "I'm done." You simply are done, quietly. And that is a power no one ever expects. Truth number 7. Silence is how you take back emotional control from others. There's a truth most people never admit. Most of your pain doesn't come from what others do, but from how you react to what they do. When someone disappoints you, says something hurtful, walks away without an explanation, or uses silence to punish you, your emotions surge instantly. You want to text back fast. You want to call immediately. You want to clear things up. You want justice for your feelings. But Stoics understand this. Real strength isn't reacting the fastest, it's reacting the most selectively. Silence is not surrender. Silence is pausing their power over your mind. When you don't reply instantly, you reclaim the steering wheel of your emotions. When you don't react, you stop letting their words dictate your state. When you choose silence, you are not losing, you're protecting your soul from impulsive reactions. You'll regret later. Imagine standing in the middle of a storm. The wind is harsh dust flying everywhere. If you try to run, you lose direction even more. But if you stand still, take one deep breath, close your eyes for a moment. The storm inside begins to settle. That is Stoic silence. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Peace comes from within. Do not seek it without." You only hear that inner peace when you stop making noise with your own reactions. In silence, you start to see a few difficult but liberating truths. Not everyone deserves your emotional investment. Not everyone earns the right to know why you're hurting. Not every situation requires an immediate response. And most importantly, you have the right not to respond. Reaction is instinct. Calm is strength. Silence is choice. And when you choose silence over emotional reactivity, you're telling yourself, I am the one steering my life, not them. Truth number 8. Silence doesn't mean you're weak. It means you're strong enough not to fight with noise. There's a truth most people never realize. The less confident someone is, the louder they become. The stronger someone is, the more they know exactly when to stay silent. The modern world convinces you that courage means speaking up. Argue back. Defend yourself. Prove you're right. Win every debate. Win every confrontation. But Stoics see life differently. True victory isn't in how loudly you speak, it's in not needing to speak at all to hold your dignity. When someone attacks you, misunderstands you, twists your story, or talks behind your back, your instinct wants to rise up to clap back, to set things straight, to fight fire with fire. But there is a higher form of strength, the ability to stay centered while someone tries to pull you into their chaos. Stoics understand this deeply. Other people's words only have power when you let them enter your mind. But when you remain silent, grounded, and unmoved, every insult falls to the floor with no impact. There are battles you win with arguments, but there are battles you win with indifference. And the second kind is the one that lasts because it doesn't rely on anyone else validating your worth. Your silence sends a message louder than any comeback. You're not important enough for me to lose my peace. That's not arrogance, it's priority. Choosing your inner peace over proving your correctness to someone who never cared to understand in the first place. Epictetus taught, you can control your thoughts, you cannot control theirs. So why waste your energy explaining yourself to a mind already shut? Silence in this case is not avoidance. It's refusal to sink into a fight that doesn't deserve the weight of your spirit. And in that moment, you step into a form of power that doesn't need to be loud, the power of a mind that cannot be shaken by noise. If you've made it to the end of this journey, it means something important is happening inside you. A small shift, but a powerful one. Something you may not have words for yet, but you can feel it clearly. You no longer want to react the way you used to. You no longer want to chase anyone just to prove you are worthy. You no longer want to explain yourself to someone who already let go. You no longer want to make noise just to be seen, heard, or understood. And that is the first sign of inner maturity. The sign of a mind crossing into a new chapter. The sign of someone beginning to understand silence is no longer weakness. It is the choice of someone who knows their worth. Stoicism never taught us to become cold. It taught us to become clear. Not to distance ourselves from people, but to distance ourselves from chaos. Not to build walls, but to build boundaries. Not to shut down our emotions, but to stop letting everything shake us. The power of silence is this: you don't need to win an argument to win yourself. Every time you choose not to react, you take back control from the one who once made you waver. Every time you walk away in peace, you elevate your value without needing a single word. Every time you keep your dignity while others lose theirs, you reveal a kind of strength no one can strip from you. If there is one thing you should carry with you after this video, let it be this: let silence be your final word. Not because you're arrogant, not because you want to punish anyone, but because you finally understand that you don't have to hurt yourself to keep anyone anymore. If this video spoke to you, hit like, share it with someone who needs to hear this, leave a declaration for yourself, and write it down. My silence is my last word and my most powerful one. If something you heard today touched you, if you felt a part of your mind awaken, if you know you're ready to step into a stronger, calmer version of yourself, then don't walk away in silence. Leave a comment to declare that you're changing. Hit like so the algorithm knows this message deserves to be seen. And if you want to continue this journey of inner strength, the journey of calmness, dignity, and unshakable inner power, subscribe to this channel. Not for me, for you, so that every week you get another reminder that you don't need to chase anyone, you don't need to explain yourself to anyone, and you don't need to lose your peace just to be loved. Here you are seen. Here you are supported. Here you return to yourself. Hit subscribe and take one more step toward becoming the unshakable version of who you were meant to be.